Hey guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and today we're gonna talk about the episode of the Nobles, the episode of Sinners and the Messenger, an episode that revealed some major truths about the lives of Kyoraku and Nanao, and these words don't even begin to describe the importance of the events that we have seen today in the fight between Kyoraku and Nanao against Lille Barro. In it, we discovered a new aspect of power from Lille Barro that we hadn't seen before, and we also saw a secret of the nobility, the secret swords. That's why guys, let's dive together to find the secrets of this episode that will open many doors for discussions about one of the important themes in Bleach story. So guys, as a start, I really liked the episode, but the thing that I didn't like much, honestly, was the soundtrack. I'm talking exactly about the first half of the episode. The OST they used didn't pull me into the event as much as I expected, unlike last week's episode. Aside from that, everything was good. The studio followed the same approach that Kobo used in presenting the flashback in the manga. The flashback can be considered scattered, sometimes showing events from Nanao's perspective and other times from Kyoraku's perspective, which is something good. That's why guys, I wanted to talk about the flashback in order, from the start to the end, and then discuss the fight. And so the flashback started with the revelation of the pins. In this arc guys, Kobo showed us that there are interesting stories behind things we might consider normal and simple, especially with certain characters. A notable example is the second scarf of the old man, which turned out to be related to the Bankai of Sasakibe, Yamato's vice captain, and the name Nemo turned out to have great significance related to Mayuri's project with his vice captain. And this time we have these pins, which are connected to Nanao Ise. We saw that Shunsui, who had not a so good relationship with his brother, improve it with the presence of this woman, Nanao's mother. It's said that her name is Isuzu Ise. I'm not sure about that, but anyway. Another thing guys we must keep in mind is that the flashback events take place in the Sereti, and I honestly really enjoy anything related to the nobility in Bleach's story, because simply any information about them gives us so much insight into various matters. Also, I'm fascinated by the social culture and structure of the nobles, so this allows us guys to see different aspects of their life in the Sereti, which are completely different from those in Reikongai, where poverty, hunger and crime are widespread. Within the Sereti, alongside the Shinigami, there are the pure souls, including Kyoraku's family and the Ise family. And as you can see guys, at the beginning of the flashback, you can sense that the events were calm and happy because of Nanao's mother. When she moved to her husband's house, we saw how she gave her husband the second pin, indicating that she was worried about him during the missions he was undertaking to fight the Hollows. And thus we learned the origin of those pins. The blue pin was for Shunzun Kyoraku, and the red one was for Nanao's mother, Isuzu Ise. Kyoraku in that flashback was still a boy, and slightly older than in the flashback with the old man Yamamoto. And as he said, he used to visit his brother's house for naps after he married Nanao's mother. Up to this point, everything was fine, but we know that life is not always this perfect. There must be something that turns everything upside down. What will shake this beautiful family's life is Nanao's background. Yes, she was too noble, and I'm speaking here about her mother, but she wasn't just any noble, she was from the Ise family. And by the way, the Ise as a name is also found in Japan, is about I think an island that has one of the most famous shrine in Japan called Ise. So this is not something ordinary. Anyway guys, as we have seen, the Ise family only gave birth to women, so they had to marry outsiders. However guys, anyone who married a woman from this family would die shortly after. It seems that Kyoraku's older brother didn't trust this fact and see it as a joke, so he married Nanao's mother. On the other side guys, it seems that Nanao's mother may have been the head of the family. This is because, as we know from the flashback, the head of the family is the one who possesses the sacred Zanpakuto, which is then passed down to the next leader. And Kyoraku mentioned that Nanao's mother was desperately trying to find a solution to rid herself of that curse. I mean the curse of marrying a man and he will die and then you will give birth to a daughter and she also will hold that curse. That's why she didn't want to pass it on to her daughter who would come after her. And this is why one of the solutions she considered was marrying outside the family. And such decision isn't easy at all. Leaving the house of her clan, marrying someone unrelated, and living with him would effectively end the Issei family lineage because she would then be counted as a part of the new family. And this is why Kyoraku's words perhaps confirmed that she truly was the head of the Issei family. Of course, this was her first attempt to break the curse by marrying and living with her husband, who in this case happened to be Shunsui's brother. But after the marriage and those first happy years, it became clear that this wasn't the solution. Her husband died and it was evident that even that option wasn't the answer. That's why she considered about a second option, the one that we could say changed her life and also Kyoraku's life forever. The option is to rid herself of the family's sacred sword once and for all. And that's why she thought of giving it to Kyoraku. And while watching the episode, it confirmed something for me that I didn't notice or didn't understand when I have read the manga. It was clear now that Nanao's mother gave him the sacred sword while he was still at the academy, and that's a big deal, guys. Imagine a young boy who hadn't even become a Shinigami yet being entrusted with such a significant responsibility. A sacred sword powerful enough to rival Soul King's mighty power. And this raises a big question. Since the sword was given to Kyoraku before he became a Shinigami, did Kyoraku receive two Asauchi from the start, or was it just one Asauchi? Perhaps the idea is that Ohana was able to manifest part of it in the form of Okyu, which took the shape of a small sword, and Okyu she hid the sacred sword inside her eye or something like that. And this is very important, guys, because we know that Kyoraku is the only Shinigami in the story who wields two swords in their sealed state. Even Okitake and Ichigo only possess two swords in the Shikai form. That's why, guys, I always wish to see how this process actually unfolded. Even though Kyoraku said that Ohana gave birth. So I really want to know what exactly he meant by give birth. Anyway, this brings us back to another topic, which is that at the time Nanao's mother gave the sacred sword to Kyoraku, and she was no longer part of her husband's family. That's why, guys, I mentioned that I find it fascinating to know more about the nobles. From what we've seen of their traditions, when a woman's husband dies, she must return to her original family. And so when Nanao was born, we can say she never had any contact or connection with her father's family. And this could explain why Nanao never knew, for example, that Kyoraku was her uncle. And from her perspective, all she knew about Kyoraku was that he was the man who visited her mother, took something precious from her, and promised to keep it safe. At the same time, there was clear signs that Kyoraku's concern for her wasn't ordinary, and that he cared for her as his niece, but without revealing that he was actually her uncle. Knowing this might have led her to realize that Kyoraku was hiding her mother's sacred sword, but we know that Nanao already knew that sword was with Kyoraku. Now, guys, I want to return to an important point, the execution of Nanao's mother. It is strange that she was executed for losing something that belonged to her own family and no one else. In other words, losing the sword should have been an internal matter that concerned no one else. However, it seems that's not how things worked. It appears that Central 46 had classified that sword as a part of what is called the sacred treasures. These are items that Central 46 considers sacred. Losing any of them is punishable by death, which is exactly what happened to Nanao's mother. That's why we can say, why all this chaos for this sword? What exactly is this sword capable of doing? That's another story, and I'll make a special video about it, about the Hakyuken sword. But for now, what we can say is that what Nanao and Kyoraku explained about the sword. Quite simply, this sword doesn't have a sharp edge and isn't designed to cut people, but rather to reflect the power of being like Ryu, Nyuhaba. The energy emitted by any entity that carries such power is reflected back in multiple directions. And now guys, we have the ability of the Hakyuken. This will make you have a clear idea of how a fight would look with someone like Lille Barro. I really wished we had gotten a flashback for him, because it's really disappointing that this generator characters fall one after one without us learning anything about them or their backgrounds. I mean, it's really good to see and to learn about who Nanao is, and it's great to know and to explore Kyoraku's past, and this adds weight and depth for them as a characters. But Lille Barro is also a character who deserved a flashback, especially since he is a new character with so many mysteries surrounding him. For example, he considers himself the messenger of God. He was the first person to be given a schrift by Yhwach, and he sees himself a Yhwach's masterpiece. So that's why I'm really sad that we didn't have a flashback of him. And on the top of that, we can see that he has a second Vault Standing release, which I like to call it the Golden Vault Standing. It turned out that Lille Barro has immortality. Kyoraku's final Bankai strike, which was deadly, couldn't kill him. And so with his second Vault Standing, we have seen a new appearance for him. And this time even his voice and possibly his personality changed. On the other hand, the power he has shown to us was absolutely terrifying. It further confirms that Lille Barro, being the first person to receive a schrift from Yhwach, likely received an important part of Yhwach's power, making him truly embody Yhwach's divine power, which stem from the Soul King's power. Therefore, the type of power Lille Barro possesses can't be defeated in the normal way. And even when you focus on the words of Lille Barro, we notice that he emphasizes fighting sinners and believes the Shinigami are sinners. And this actually holds some truth when we see it from the perspective of the Quincy's, or Yhwach's perspective, because from their point of view, the Shinigami are enemies of the Soul King, and naturally then they would be sinners in Lille Barro's eyes, since they are enemies of the Soul King. And the ironic twist, guys, at the end of this fight is that even though Kyoraku used the strongest abilities of his Bankai to kill Lille Barro and failed, Lille Barro also used one of his strongest attacks, but to no avail, and this was simply because the Hakyuken absorbed that power and reflected back to him, defeating him with his own attack. So guys, what do you think about the fight in general, about the past of Kyoraku, about the end of Lille Barro, and do you agree with me that we had to see his flashback? Give me guys your opinions and see you guys in my next video.